Well, I'm Richard Gallagher, a professional speaker. I go to schools talking about how to study and a number of other topics. You can check my website. It's studyskillscentral.com, and my email is irishturtle, without the last E, at AOL.com. When I first started doing this, I asked the kids, what do you want to know? First thing out of their mouth was, how do I remember things? School seems to be, read this, remember it, put it on a test, let's go to the next chapter. Nobody has a poor memory. We have untrained memories. 20% remember by hearing, so say your notes out loud. 40% remember by seeing. Every once in a while, close the eyes, get a visual image. The other 40% by hands-on doing. In school, that means write it to prove you know it. That comes from 1970s studying how people remember things. The same thing was said 2,500 years ago by Confucius. What I hear, I forget. What I see, I remember. What I do, that's when I get those ahas, and then I understand. I'm going to show you that you do have a memory, and it's really very simple. It's association techniques. I'm going to give you the story of the 50 states in alphabetical order. I'm going to do this by seeing, hearing, and doing. But what's going to work best, and this is the key, what does it remind me of? If you're sitting at home, say that out loud. What does it remind me of? Before I do it. California, what does California remind you of? Because you know something, you get all kinds of images. Well, many times you're studying, it's all new to you, you won't know anything. So I'm going to fall back on sounds or spellings. In this case, the first syllable. California, California, cow, cow. Oh, cows, like milking millions of cows. Sometimes the spelling will give it to you. Colorado, when you read that in order, it spells color-a-do. And by the way, color-a-do is a whole lot easier to spell than Colorado. So I'll use a rainbow of different colors. Arkansas sounds and spells like an ark, so I'm going to put you on a big ship on an ark. These are the 50 states by seeing, hearing, and doing. I'd like to start with a person, so I'll start with Al for Alabama. He's cold as it is in Alaska, and he's hot for Arizona. He's on an ark for Arkansas, milking the cows for California. They're all different colors for Colorado, and they're connected for Connecticut to the Delaware River for Delaware that is flowing with orange juice for Florida. It's crazy, but it's that uniqueness that makes it easier to remember. I then have George for Georgia, and he is in Hawaii, and he's eating Idaho potatoes. And he became ill for Illinois. An Indian helped him for Indiana. He said IOU for Iowa, a can for Kansas of Kentucky Fried Chicken. I have Luis for Louisiana, walking down Main Street for the state of Maine, with Mary for Maryland, and they went to Mass for Massachusetts, with a machine gun for Michigan, the machine gun the cars, and they celebrated that with a little soda. But it wasn't a little soda, it was a mini soda for Minnesota, that they sipped for Mississippi, and it was sour for Missouri. The three of them, Al, George, and Luis, climbed a mountain for Montana. On top of the mountain, they found a brass penny for Nebraska. They got the brass penny, and they started to gamble, as they do in Nevada, and they won 4 new things. They won a new hamster for New Hampshire. They won a New Jersey. They won a new Mexican sombrero hat, and they won a big apple for New York. They then went outside caroling for North Carolina and put on their new coats for North Dakota. And they saw somebody and they said, oh, hi, for Ohio. And that person said, hey, you're okay for Oklahoma. So they started to play the organ for Oregon, and they played it with their pens for Pennsylvania. They got on their horses and they rode for Rhode Island, and they rode south for South Carolina. They put on their suede coats for South Dakota, went out and played a game of tennis for Tennessee with this guy named Tex for Texas. And he was tall, he was huge tall for Utah. But he was a terrible man, he was a vermin for Vermont, because he talked to Virginia for Virginia. She then washed herself for Washington. She then became the best Virginian for best or West Virginia. She then went running to her cousins for Wisconsin, and then said, why'd I do that for Wyoming? Crazy? Yes, but it works. If all I had done is what I used to do, and what most kids are doing, over and over in the head, not even out loud, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, I'd still be doing it. When you get stuck, ask yourself, what does it remind me of? It wasn't until I did the states, the capitals, the presidents. Over 140 times, I asked myself, what does that remind me of? And I began to see the printed word. And any word can be pictured. What is geometry? It's what a tree says when it looks in a mirror. Geometry. And sometimes it's who does it remind you of. I'd like to go into greater depth, but we have another tape to make. Hope to see you on the next tape. Thank you very much.